All right, so I think we're going to be beginning now. And then everybody else who comes, we'll just also have to point them into the right direction, but they'll have to catch up along the way because we cannot wait anymore. Okay, so just a few things I just wanted to mention here is that Neale Petersen is a mentor of mine. He helped me buy my first property in 2018. I actually made a video separately just to explain how I met Neale Petersen. and I think if you guys want to go watch it and how he changed my life, you guys can go and watch it on YouTube. The reason why I didn't want to also take time about it here and I made a separate video is I wanted to make sure that this is as much valuable as it can be and we learn as much as we can from Neale Petersen. And if you guys want to see the video of how I met Neale Petersen and how he changed my life personally, I think you must go to YouTube, just type in Ezra Rasethe, and you will see a video of how I met Neale Petersen and what I was going through at the time and how he managed to help me change my mindset into like a very big abundance mindset. And today, I'm a real estate investor, I'm a real estate developer. I'm working on deals with around R500 million actually. And most importantly, I do what I love. And I think I encourage people to do what I love. And I think it's because of people like Neale Petersen that I managed to be able to do that. So if you guys want to see that video, I want you to encourage you guys to go to my YouTube channel, go to EzraRasethe.com. Oh no, just type Ezra Rasethe on YouTube. You'll find the video of how I met Neale. And I'll also put it in the description on the YouTube channel that we have. And then the second thing is that this training will only be online until the 30th of April, which is next week. And then it's only going to be available on our Facebook Mastermind group. So if you guys are not part of our Facebook Mastermind group, I think you'll get a link on both on YouTube and also I'll send you guys a link on email. So you guys must join our Mastermind group. All these trainings are going to be there going forward. So we're going to be putting them all in public until the 30th of April. If you guys want to share this, want to download it, and want to keep this for you guys, for the future, I think you must do that and, get this thing to as many people as you can. So that's what I would encourage you guys to do. And then the last thing is, not least actually, is the giveaway. So there are giveaways we're giving out. We're giving out a lockdown guide from the Real Estate Investor magazine, giving us a Digimag for April. And then we're also giving us a free ebook from my side about how to invest in real estate with no money. So all those giveaways will be sent to you guys tomorrow. So meaning that if you registered online, then you're going to be getting all the giveaways. And everybody who did that, we want to thank you for registering online. In the future, if you're on YouTube and you haven't registered online, then I think I'll encourage you to actually just go register online so you can get all these tools and giveaways we give for our attendees. Okay, I see a message here from the panels from Jabu saying, "Hi Ezra, Jabu here. Thanks for having me and watching from Johannesburg Central. So excited to learn much and especially during this time of global distress." Thanks, Jabu. Thanks for joining us today. And yeah, we're happy to have you here. And then I see Sean here saying, "Thank you for the giveaways. Much appreciated." Thank you, Sean, and thank you for joining us today. And I hope you get as much value as we can. Okay, so last thing is that we want to have as much fun as we can and learn as much as we can from Neale Petersen today. So what I want us to do is that I know that we might not cover everything that we have to. So if we haven't covered anything and we didn't manage to answer it, because we're going to open up a Q&A at the end for the last 15 minutes so you guys can ask all the questions that you might have about the new digital reality, how to transition, how to thrive, and how to beat COVID-19 as a real estate investor. I want you guys to go to our registration page, send us all the messages, and then send me, go to my social media, send me all the questions. Then we can gather all that together, and then we can be able to invite Neale again for part 2, where he can be able to take us into some of the stuff that he didn't manage to touch in this interview. So I hope I made myself much clear on that. And also just have a hashtag there saying digitalizing real estate hashtag, so we can be able to see all these messages from you guys. We really, really appreciate that. And I think that's just a few housekeeping for today. I think we can begin, shall we? Okay, 100%. So welcome to Ezra Rasethe Report. Today, my guest is Neale Petersen. Neale Petersen is a real estate entrepreneur, investor, and mentor. He is a visionary behind Real Estate Investor magazine and REI platform. You can find it on www.remag.co.za as a founder and chief editor since 2007. Neale has the unique privilege of meeting and interviewing many local and international investors millionaires, billionaires, entrepreneurs, businessmen, sports stars, and entertainers to learn and share their unique secrets to their extraordinary challenges and success. His highlights include meeting and interviewing real estate mogul and the current US President Donald Trump in Sydney, Australia in 2011 September. Neale has also interviewed local and property and business celebrities such as Robert Kiyosaki, Dr. Christo Wisi, Dr. Dolph DeRoos, Mark Wayner, RIP to Mark Wayner, and Des De Beer, Saul Kesner, John Smith, Johan Rupert, Kim Kiyosaki, Ray Knitling, and Cesar Gebulani, amongst others. Neale is also the author of an inspirational book called Dance Until It Rains, an accomplished speaker, real estate influencer, and mentor. Neale champions the message of calculated and responsible real estate investment, success, hope, abundant opportunity for all through various digital channels, including nealepetersen.com, webinars, podcasts, videos with live audiences, with entrepreneurs across the globe. Neale distills the best of real estate information and strategies available, mixing his own street-tested and proven principles of investment success. Neale's purpose is to inspire, educate, empower people to become successful entrepreneurs in business, in building personal wealth through real estate. Neale is passionate about both creativity and psychology when investing in real estate. He mentors many high-performance investors like myself, entrepreneurs and businessmen, and is highly sought after seminar and keynote speaker. So to find out more, go to www.nealepetersen.com. Neale Petersen, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Ezra. Wow, geez, you've given me, you put me on the spot now.
Well,
what an introduction! Wow, thank you. Geez, I didn't realize I did all those things.
I have to say that I had a few guests on our live streaming. We had a few guests on our live streaming so far, and what I can tell you is, first of all, your bio is a whole page. That's number one. So, and then number two is, if you wrote a book someday while you distressing, or not distressing, let's say you blowing off steam and you write a book about this bio, I'm the guy who's going to buy it first. And you know what? I want you to do me a deal and sell me the rights so I can just sell it at a premium. Because this is a very, very good book that I think there's a lot of lessons. And I wish we had more time so we can just go into that alone. I mean, the bio alone is a whole training in terms of how do you meet these people? How do you, position yourself? How do you, and what do you learn, and some lessons and all that stuff? That's a lot of other impressive stuff there. But I just wanted to ask you, when people ask you, what do you do? What do you say that you do?
Well, it's something which has evolved over a number of years. So I had relative success when I was in the corporate world in the 80s and 90s with real estate, and that was really flipping properties, buying a property, selling it for profit a few years later, and at that time it was quite lucrative because there was no capital gains tax, or it wasn't at the level that it is today when you buy and sell properties. So those were some of my early lessons, and I kind of did it by sort of I didn't have anybody that really helped me. But I had relative success, buying and selling 2 or 3 properties in the 90s. And I realized that in many cases I doubled my money, and I thought, well, wow, there seems to be something in property that you can be successful, because I was making far more money selling properties than I was earning in my corporate job at the time, even in 1 year's salary. So I thought, well, wow, this is an opportunity for me to maybe make this my career. So if you were to say, what am I think first and foremost, I think I've spent a lot of time sort of studying the whole sort of real estate industry and becoming sort of and learning for people's behavior in terms of how they invest and that kind of stuff. So it's very much in the real estate area. So I like to learn from other people, but most important, to implement what I've learned. And then we find that those successful people have a kind of a success model that you can base that on, because investment is all about principles that you've got to follow. And if you follow those rules and regulations, you can be successful. And it's open to anybody. It's not limited to anybody, to any age, or the amount of money you have and that kind of stuff. You just got to really have a deep desire for wanting to be successful, and you just need to follow those principles. And let me tell you what, it's not easy all the time. And I didn't welcome everybody now, because we're actually sitting in really, really tough times at the moment, and it's not easy out there. And I just want to sort of put my heart out to everybody that, look, there's a few things I want to say. And the first thing is, I just want to say that I've got good news, and I've got bad news, and I've got really bad news. So I'll give you the bad news first. And that is, things are actually going to get worse in terms of this lockdown and economically and that kind of things. So, and I think even the worst news is that it's going to challenge a lot of people, and it's going to make people in a very uncomfortable position. You're going to be challenged mentally. You're going to say, well, some people want to say, I actually want to just take myself out. I don't want to face this any longer. And it's not easy. The good news is that we will get through this. And let me tell you what, it's a way of sort of resetting ourselves. So I sort of lead, I'm learning all the time, and I'm kind of sharing what I'm learning. So I like to report, to guide people on becoming successful, because I think everybody deserves it. Every single person. And as I said earlier, it's not limited to anybody. So in terms of the mindset, it's very difficult, in these kind of times, because people have lost their jobs, and people are struggling, and they're saying, what's my next step? And sometimes you need to reset yourself. You need to maybe lose that job, but you could, that could create a new opportunity. So maybe losing your job is saying, well, this is an entrepreneurial opportunity. It happened to me. Sort of, I was in the corporate world, and I just resigned from my job because I got tired of it. I just didn't enjoy it any longer. And I thought the only way I can do and become an entrepreneur, and that's the fundamental thing that I am. I'm actually an entrepreneur and a real estate entrepreneur. And I'm saying for people today, when you start doing your planning, plan for the very worst outcome. Plan for it, okay? But expect the best, but more important, prepare for a surprise. So this whole, expect or plan for that worst outcome, and say, look, things are going to be really bad. Plan for it. I'm saying a lot of people now today have to go back to a zero base, and to go through that. Earlier on, I was chatting to various bankers, and bankers are concerned. They've offered and put out all kind of programs to help people pay, because there's some businesses that are just not operational today. So just in a long way to answer your question, Ezra, I think what I just want to reach out to everybody, because of the coronavirus and COVID-19, is that we just need to have this awareness about it, but we will get through it. It will pass. So to answer the long question, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a real estate entrepreneur, and I'm passionate about everything about real estate.
100%. Definitely. I mean, what we are in right now, nobody planned for it. And I don't think one way or other, all of us are affected by the coronavirus. How worse is it going to get? We're all not sure, but I think it can get worse, as you said. It's much better to plan for the worst, and then try to position yourself in a manner where you can mitigate the risk, and then go back to do your SWOT analysis, figure out where you might be strong. Maybe you might need to try new things. One of the things I've been learning, though, is that we are very adaptable. And then some of the things that I used to think they are normal right now might be, normal might be something completely new. And then and we also have to get into that. I was speaking to Selma Stein last week, and she mentioned something like she also was learning that she can actually gym from home. So I'm trying to use that example in a context to say that is us as human beings realizing that we can actually adapt. So that's going to help us. Maybe if we have that mentality to say, okay, we can adapt to this, then we can get over this at some point, because it probably happened in the past a couple of times actually. the influencer thing, but it never happened like at this scale. So I think yes, we can get over it. And I also do want to get more on terms of how to get over the coronavirus. And then we're going to discuss the new digital reality of now we are at home, what do we do? And then obviously if people are at home and their lives are at home, that means that their real estate needs are at home too. So if you are an agent, if you are a seller, if you're a buyer, if you're an investor, what do you do? How do you navigate around? And then the president on Tuesday mentioned that after the lockdown is done, we're gonna be getting like opening in parts. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be a full opening, so that's gonna be partial opening. So meaning that we might open, we might close again. We're not sure what's gonna happen. So what is the best way to position yourself that you can be functional in a very changing sort of way of doing things? So I think that is where I want us to lead the conversation to, and I have more questions on that based a little bit later in the interview. But for now, I just wanted to say, if you're a real estate entrepreneur, for the people who don't know you, why is it so important to you to do this real estate entrepreneur?
Yeah, look, so first of all, just to take it a few steps back to your original question in terms of, people sitting at home, what can you do? Well, I think it's a massive opportunity. I've never been busier since, lockdown has kicked in. I'm working almost 10-hour days at the moment. I spend a lot of time on Zoom and each day. And in fact, we're launching a webinar a day. As from next week, real estate remag, and we're going to do it in the different sectors. We're going to be doing it in residential, and we're going to do it in commercial. We're going to do it in offshore. We're going to do it in PropTech, and we're going to share with people the top of the people at the head of the game. And I know some businesses. It's not every business, but it tends to be the online businesses that have been in the game for quite a long time. That have adopted online and have adopted PropTech and have adopted various kind of technologies in their business already are surviving. And I think what everybody is kind of working remotely now, we're saying in the future, well, how's it going to work? Because I was part of a survey where 74% of people said that after lockdown, they might be operating permanently. They would permanently like to operate from home. So now you've got to start asking questions. Well, how does this impact the commercial office market, for example? Because there's still a lot of uncertainty. I think, I found in these 27 days of lockdown that every day there's something in your inbox about somebody trying to give advice on what to do. And I think there isn't one right answer, because I think what we have to do is we have to keep positive every day. We kind of got to keep ourselves busy. We've got to try and find solutions and ways of how we can adapt to the new sort of technology way of doing things. And and if we look at just recently, there was an article by Arthur Goldstuck, he's a leader in the tech game, and he said if we look at artificial intelligence, the size of the market is $13 trillion, which is a massive, it's huge. So there's an obvious maneuver moving in that direction of technology, and not only prop tech, we're talking about fintech and all those different other things that are there. So there's definitely a shift in that direction. What's happened in our business is that we've been forced, and we were in fact moving in a digital environment. Now we haven't been able to print our magazine now, so we've always had our magazine digital anyway. So 95% of our audience is online. So those people that haven't adapted their business probably in the last year, probably are those the ones that are going to be in trouble. And so it's somebody that's pretty much has built up a sort of business streams that takes on technology and in every form, and as planned for that is probably going to be the beneficiaries. We look at a company like, and there's some companies, some of the retailers have done quite well with some of their deliveries and that kind of. I mean, we're talking about the Pick and Pays, the Checkers, and that. And you look at your digital business, a company like Zoom. Now that's just taken off. I mean, they used to have 10 million users in February. Today they're sitting with 250 million. Now,
Yes.
what kind of escalation of growth is that? It's unbelievable. It's gone through the roof. So the time of businesses, there's almost a time for a business to grow. So this could be your time to start planning and saying, well, how can I benefit? What is the value that I could bring to the world? What is it that I what can I impart? So to answer the second part of your question in terms of real estate and what people should be doing. And if we look at the PropTech, because that was also part of your subject today, I mean, PropTech really started with the likes of Property 24 as a portal, and also Private Property. There were another portal that started, and Gumtree and those kind of portals. And they still today, they are the leading portals. I think Property 24 is by far and away. I think it's in the top 100 or something of the world. It's massive. Their reach is incredible. They're certainly, definitely in the top 10, top 3 or whatever in South Africa. So they've got massive, massive reach. So it started from that. So the obvious thing is, as an investor, I think there's going to be massive opportunities that's going to come forward. There's going to be a lot of distress in the market, which means that we mustn't just try and benefit. We must also try and help people at the end of the day, because that's why banks have given all these relief programs. That's why the landlords are in discussions with all the retailers, offering them payment holidays and that kind of stuff. So we've got to realize that it's not just the time just to monetize and just to benefit. It's also a time to kind of like sit back and to also give back and say, where can I help? We don't want to have the vulture mentality of an investor. We want to have an investor where we can benefit, but we can also share that and make other people grow within that as well. So I think those are some of the opportunities.
100%. I definitely agree with you. One of the things that I wanted us to also discuss in more detail was some of the most popular tools that investors can use to digitalize their real estate investment strategy. Reason for that is, I know for a fact that there's a lot of tools that exist like TPN, HouseMe, a lot of other property folks, things that are online that I was well aware of. I've never sort of had time to integrate them into my real estate strategy. And what I'm seeing is what is happening with the lockdown and what is happening to companies like Zoom, as you're saying, and most of the people being online right now. It means that we must now be able to say some of the process that we were doing manually in real estate must be done, using technology. So some of the most popular tools usually recommends like HouseMe. You guys had two calls in place. I'm not sure if you still remember. It was like a full service US-based property management that was using IA and machine learning to do like management of property tenants. And then you can do online payments, extend lease, and report problems there online. And then you also had something called Infuma Rent for inspections and things like that. And then there was also a Flow app, I think, from that Flow company. That is something that is something I also wanted to touch you on to say, what are these tools? Are these the tools that, right now investors should be saying, okay, how do I put this or integrate this as part of my value chain of buying property or my process? And then how do I put it in my strategy in terms of management, when I'm operating, when I'm managing, when I'm dealing with tenants? And then what about when I'm viewing, because right now, one of the things that we're having is we have a few applications that we just did with the banks. And then they were saying, obviously, because of the lockdown, they can't go and view. And then now you have the D's office, which is closed, which is something I also wanted to touch on, coming back to saying, okay, so what do people do about that? Is it the time now where we introduce blockchain? Since 2018, you've been talking about blockchain and how it's going to, actually 2017, where's the magazine? Okay, this was my favorite copy of the REI magazine that you guys have. And here you were talking about property and blockchain in 2017. So right now in 2018, if you follow through what you guys have been talking about, with more like, okay, what steps can you take to familiarize yourself with blockchain? What will the effects be in terms of the financing? And then the time also, another thing, the speed takes around 11 minutes. Then there was like some case scenarios that have been used in Sweden and other countries, in which we can also copy and be able to integrate in terms of what we do. Is there any strategies, technologies that we can use to digitize our strategies? That's the question number one. And in terms of fintech, I just wanted to say my opinion on fintech is the consumer behavior is changing right now. So meaning that, as you said, people are working from home, and then more people are going to be getting used to working from home after this lockdown is done. And then, as you're saying, it's going to affect a lot of retail landlords. And then now, when you have an office space, I mean, why should you have an office? You can cut your costs. People can work from home. They're working productively. Why can't they work there? We just have a Zoom call every week, or whichever way you guys are doing things, and then we just keep it going from there. So, so what I wanted to ask is things like blockchain in 2018 alone. It had 250% Google searches. And then you mentioned in 2018 also on the Ipileng Kari edition that blog post. Okay, so that there was a case study that was done in Sweden. And then when this thing was implemented in terms of blockchain on real estate and doing buying property online, it saved taxpayers money by about £100 million, and it reduced municipal hours spent on paperwork and lowering potential fraud. So that's another thing to say. We are online right now. Every day I get people who are logging on our online system. We're trying to fight cybersecurity. There's a lot of other risk that is coming into that. That's why industries like AI, cybersecurity are now like at the trillions of dollars, at closest to healthcare, I think. And then what my question actually is coming to say, are we now at the time where we should be having the whole transition of a property done online, or are we still getting there? Or are we just in a very place where we're having a lot of what do you call advanced transformation of technology at this point, where we're not sure when things will happen and how, because of everything is, the disruption is actually happening much faster than we thought. So that's where I wanted us to touch on, obviously, on the fintech part and the blockchain and how that can help us with that problem. And then the last part of the interview, I just want us to touch a bit on why is it the perfect time to invest today, and then lowest interest rate of all time, the repo cuts, and also if you think the 500 billion rand stimulus bill that the president announced for Tuesday will actually help us fix the economy, or do we need 500 billions, to fix the economy today? And also another thing that the president mentioned on Tuesday was that the third stage to put the economy on track after the lockdown and after the partial opening was a substantial infrastructure growth program where they're going to be putting a lot of money on infrastructure. And then I think there might be an opportunity on that, but the opportunity might be new because of things will be changing. The consumer behavior will be changing. People will not be buying the same things. They'll be having different priorities. And then all of that stuff, meaning that whatever we know is infrastructure, and then the future of infrastructure might have, have a little bit of a difference there. So those are the things that I just wanted to touch on, and then I also wanted to share my opinion. But just to summarize it, it's just the popular tools of PropTech that we can use to digitalize our real estate investment strategy. And the second part is the fintech, especially blockchain, and then how it can help us with security, availability, time, and then transparency also. And then the third one is why is actually the perfect time to invest in real estate with the lowest interest rate of all time, and then the repo cuts. And obviously, can we really benefit from this 500 billion rand stimulus bill that the president just put out on Tuesday as a real estate sector?
Jeez, Ezra, you're asking me a lot of questions, man. Okay, so listen, I'm very happy to answer all of them. And just on the whole PropTech thing, we actually ran a Digitalization Summit earlier in Johannesburg and Cape Town this year. So we probably had 60 to 65% representation by the PropTech industry. So in other words, businesses that were operating in property in some or other form or whatever, but were also in the tech space. Now you normally find that the majority of those people in the PropTech space are not property people. They're not property people whatsoever. They tend to be technology type people. So, I think let me just go back a few steps, because I think it's a very important question that you're asking there, because people think we're going through a little bit of evolution right now, And I don't think that there's a silver bullet in PropTech at this particular moment in time. I think what we summarized after the 2 days, and we had a 2-day summit in Cape Town and a 2-day summit in Johannesburg. And just by the way, we're going to be doing this online, during lockdown as well. The plan is to get all these experts so that you can hear from them. And I must say the insights that we had were incredible. It was probably the best content that we've ever shared. And some of the videos are on our platform, on the REMAG platform that you can check out. But essentially, I don't think the human factor will ever be removed from real estate. Now, there's different sectors within PropTech. I mean, you've mentioned a whole lot of companies' names. I mean, that's just a few. I mean, there's multiple companies. We've got to split it by residential. We've got to split it by commercial. And there's various kinds of PropTech in those areas too. And then, of course, you can start going into other areas like, global investing and using platforms to invest offshore. So let's just talk about really the estate agent models first. And I mean, by far and away, I mean, I know you mentioned Property Fox, but Lead Home is actually the number one. They own 70% of the online market in South Africa. Property Fox is a follower along with Easy and all the rest of the other guys. Please forgive me if I've forgotten, to mention you, but certainly it's a new area that's really opened up. And I think people are still going to get the trust. At the end of the day, they're still going to deal with the human being on the other side. So while they can, do everything remotely, there still has to be an element of a human on the other side, when we get to the transactional side of the property. So I think that, definitely in the estate agent transactional space, you would always see an agent. And so I think that's good news for agents, is that, you guys will all be around. But I think a lot of the agents have got to learn how to adopt technology within their businesses. Yeah. Okay, then you get to the rental side of things, and you've mentioned a few brands there. And obviously, House Me is a platform that, for 3.5%, they will they will find you a tenant, they'll put a tenant in, they'll do all the managing. And then, of course, the costs go up or down on scale, depending, of course, how far you want to use their services. So that platform, and they've been around for about more than 2 years. Flow is really an app where it rewards tenants for payment behavior. And especially now, I think probably, those kind of platforms at the moment are probably maybe a little bit under pressure, because obviously some people are not working, and they probably might have been retrenched or lost their jobs and that kind of stuff. So you just got to think that, how can I pay my rent if I don't have my money at the end of the day? And the South African economy was already distressed. So the plan is that we want to talk to Gil and his team and find out exactly, what is it, how they're dealing with this right now. Because certainly in the commercial side, the landlords are talking to all the retailers, and the only retailers that are operating right now in lockdown are your Pick n Pays, your Checkers, and your Woolworths type retailers, your food retailers, your essential operators, and then of course the likes of Clicks and Discom and these kind of guys. So, and they're all providing an essential service. That could change tonight. We don't know what that's going to be, because we've got to wait for that announcement. So it's almost that we're dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. So I think the realization from PropTech is, doesn't matter when a virus of this kind of COVID-19 has hit us, it impacts all business, whether you are a PropTech business or whether you are a normal traditional type retailer. Everybody's affected. I don't think anybody has been left out of this. And so it's really finding solutions. So we almost have to deal with it almost on a day-by-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, in terms of trying to find solutions to this whole thing. Now, you mentioned blockchain. Now, blockchain is a whole different, separate kettle of fish. And now, if we look at in Bitcoin, and if we look at the cryptocurrency sector, blockchain has been running on the back of that for a number of years, and quite successfully. And cryptocurrencies have obviously led the way in terms of blockchain. And there's a number of other businesses that have applied it quite successfully. In real estate, we're very much in the early stages. I still think we're 5 or 6 years away before we have full and wide acceptance of blockchain. So, and that's going to be with a lot of technology too. So technology is also going to evolve. Now, I don't know if you recall, Ezra, in 1999, we had the dot-bomb crash. And in 1997, we had South African interest rates at 25.5%. Today, we're sitting at 7.5%. You can see the radical difference over there. And we can see markets go up and down. So we had the dot-bomb crash. What happened with dot-bomb? We thought that the website was the most important thing that you could have. And we've subsequently found that it wasn't, and all these other tech companies that jumped on the bandwagon had found that they bombed out. And the same thing happened in real estate in 2008, which is obviously really the people were overstretched in terms of over-leveraged, and banks were on selling, loans and loans that were packaged as various other packages, and literally was nothing in them. And so that caused a big crash. Now we got COVID-19, which is equating to 1913, when they had the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, around that time also. So we got to realize we're in challenging times, and technology will only partly, because we're still evolving in this, but it's only going to partly solve us. So getting back to the PropTech companies, there are various platforms that are working exceptionally well. I mean, Property24, as I mentioned, is by far and away, it's the most successful way of selling your property currently, or buying your property at the moment. And, those things could change going forward. As you've mentioned, the estate agent market, those kind of players could come into the market, but they utilize Property24 to sell their properties anyway. So if we look at commercial buy and sell, generally it's a bigger transaction. There's a longer due diligence period. For buying global property, generally, to buy into a fund type operation where, that you can buy online, and generally it's managed by a third party. And so they would actually manage that property for you, and you're putting your hands in, obviously, the operator, and they will offer you returns of, say, 5, 6, 7, 8%, whatever it is, whatever that investment is. And they would pay you like a dividend every year, and then your capital's locked in for, say, 5 years, or whatever it may be, and you would get your funds back. So the question, is it a perfect time where we're sitting right now? I think, I always think it's always a good time to invest in real estate. It's a very difficult time now, simply because we can't really transact. As you mentioned, Ezra, the deeds office is closed, so people can't transact. What we can do is we can start looking online, and we can start lining up deals. We can have discussions with people who are owners of real estate of whatever sort, and we know that some people have got a complete mind shift change. I remember in 2007, 2008. A good friend of mine was Ian Fife. He used to be the property editor of Financial Mail at the time. This is 2007. It was also the year I launched Real Estate Investor. And he owned more than 250 properties in the inner city of Johannesburg. And Ian did a wonderful thing. He sold all of them 2 months prior to the global financial crisis, and he cashed out. And so sometimes, and I'm a big follower of Robert Kiyosaki, and he's been calling a global financial crisis for a long time. And he's got it right. He called the 2008 crisis. He called the other crisis, which is in the dot-bomb crisis, and also the 1989 stock market crisis as well, which they had in the US, which also was widespread as well. And he's been calling this. So when you, as investors, you've got to understand, when you're putting yourself at risk into the market, as most investors are right now, because if you start looking, a lot of owners of multiple real estate are not getting any rent. They're not getting any rent whatsoever. And then people say, yeah, well, the legal process cannot operate right now until lockdown is lifted. You can get threats, you can get all that kind of stuff, and you better pay and all that kind of thing. But nobody can act until lockdown is officially lifted. Nobody can do anything. Nobody can take anybody and evict anybody at this particular moment in time. So the rules of the game of investing have changed. So you've got to realize, when is the perfect time? And I think there will become a perfect time when we will see well-priced properties, and we don't know how this next 6 months is going to pan out. And remember that markets go up and markets go down. So markets always go through cycles, and we've always said it's best to buy right at the bottom and obviously sell right at the top, using the Ian Fife example. I also sold a number of my real estate before because I didn't want to be risk to the market. I was following Robert Kiyosaki's way, who said, well, there's going to be a crash. So I kind of like followed his little methodology on that and parked some cash on the side. So when is the perfect time? I think, you know, there never is really a perfect time, because there's always a good deal out there in any type of market, whether it's up or whether it's down. You just got to have the ability to find those deals. However, now we're going to see very well-priced real estate coming onto the market, a glut of it. And I think also in South Africa, we got to realize, remember when we come out from this, I can tell you probably in 2 years' time in South Africa, we're going to probably be sitting in one of the biggest booms this country has ever seen. I clearly believe that. Once we get through this COVID-19, and let me tell to everybody that you've got to now be opportunistic. You've got to try and find opportunities of learning how to find those opportunities, learning how to negotiate, learning how to structure good deals, learning how to secure finance from various people, but most importantly, where everybody can profit at the end of the day. And so I think those opportunities are going to come our way. And I think we're sitting pretty much in 2001, 2002, when I bought a lot of properties. I did 22 deals with one developer, undervalued, and I didn't have any money. So, but I did have the bank's money. And so the bank supported me and that kind of thing. So there's all these wonderful kind of, you know, opportunities I think that's going to come our way. And I think anybody that wants to get in now is to start gearing yourself up, educate yourself, you know, do some courses, get some coaching, get some mentorship, go onto our website and learn about all these different things. The most important thing is be proactive all the time. You know, just look for those opportunities. Have that ability that you want to hustle, do a deal all the time. And remember, you're not going to win every single deal. You're going to lose some deals. You're not going to win some deals. And then, of course, to the last part of your question, of course, all the benefits that we're receiving from the government and all these bailout finance, I think trying as much as you can, we need to access that finance, because a lot of people need that. Small businesses need that, medium-sized businesses need that, individuals need that, employees need that, they're losing their jobs. So we need to access as much as possible. Now, how is it going to change? Well, we don't know, because I think our president hasn't explained exactly how the distributions have been done. The announcement has been done. I think it's extremely positive. And I think that there's a window of opportunity in whatever way for us to benefit from that. We just have to find out exactly how are those distributions going to be done, and how are we going to benefit the people on the ground, the people that are hungry, the people that need it most, the people that need to be housed. You know, that's what we've got to look at. And I think we've got to be aware of that, and we've got to find solutions of housing our people at the bottom end of the chain. And we've really got to make sure that the money's going to the right places, but they're also getting the benefit where they could also get a roof over their heads, and they could also get an opportunity to own a property someday. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. And I think by this evening, our president will tell us exactly, you know, how we see whether we're going to have a gradual lockdown and lifting. And I would caution everybody that, you know, it's not going to be back to normal. Some people are saying, don't worry, I'll carry on and things will be back to normal situation. The world is changing, and it's changing gradually all the time. We've got to realize that. And I think that we kind of have to adapt ourselves accordingly to that. And it's almost, as I say, it's we're dealing it with day to day, sort of week by week, month by month, and we pretty much just have to be aware, and most importantly, being proactive all the time when all these different things are confronting us. So you did ask a lot of questions there, Ezra. I hope I've covered everything. I don't know if I filled all the gaps, but if somebody has maybe got questions on that, we can maybe deal with it in that particular way, and I'll answer it from that perspective. But I think over the coming weeks, I'd encourage people to come onto our webinars. I'm going to have a lot of guests, a lot of experts, and we're going to share a lot of that information on our webinars going forward, and encourage you to come along on those. And a lot of the questions will be answered. And you know, I get my information from these experts, and you've got to surround yourself as a real estate investor with other people who are your team, who are also the experts. You don't want to be the smartest person in your team. You want to be surrounded by people who are smarter than you. And that's a critical factor, I think, of success as an investor. So I hope I've answered a lot of your questions there, Ezra, but maybe I don't know if you want to put it out to everybody for questions or whatever.
Yeah. I wanna put it out to everybody for questions now. I just have one more question I need to ask today. What you stressed though was proactive, stay positive, become an opportunity detector, and obviously try to access as much as we can from what the government is helping us to do. And that's what I also picked up. So one thing I wanted to ask though is that there are young people right now at home who are like 15 years old, who's like 14, maybe 18, and is like, okay, so what do I do? What do I need to learn? Do I go to school now? Do I apply for college? Do I do this? What do I learn today right now? And then what would you tell somebody like that? And then after that question, I think we can open up the questions to anybody who really wants to ask questions, and then we can be able to answer that 100%.
Okay, great. I think it's a really good question there, Ezra, and I think that everybody's asking those questions. So remember, the way that we're going to educate ourselves in future is changing radically. I mean, if you look at the moment, I mean, if we look at the school infrastructure in South Africa at the moment, it's under huge pressure. And the way that we're going to be learning in future is probably going to be online. So I think that in whatever way possible, anybody that's a young person, and I think you don't have to really tell them, is to start becoming tech savvy now. That's in other words, how to get yourself a laptop, get into a position where you've got a good internet connection. A lot of people, you know, mobile phones. So the starting point is to learn technology. Learn and learn the different platforms that you need to be able to communicate, because I think we're going to be, in terms of how we meet in future now, it's going to be very different. I travel a lot, and I spent at least once, in more cases twice, sometimes 3 times a month in Japan. I'm based in town. I'm on a plane. If you want to go to Durban, it's 3 or 4 times a year. Now, I think that's going to change, because the airline industry and the travel industry and the hospitality industry, I think, has been decimated, and is going to change forever. Now, people are going to think twice about getting onto an aeroplane. They're going to think twice, where, first of all, they have to pay for the flight to get there. They're going to have to probably hire a vehicle. They're probably going to have to book a hotel to stay in. Then they're going to have to drive to whichever venue they have to go, and they have to pay for parking. So every time there's a transactional thing that has to happen there, I'm not saying it's going to stop completely, but I think people are going to say, well, wait a minute, and also overseas travel. And remember, there's a lot of restrictions on that, and there's going to be restrictions on that for a long time to come, which means that what do you need to do with the last bit of money? If you're somebody that's 15 years old, or somebody's got access to a cash, get yourself a laptop that can work. Get yourself an internet connection, and a good internet connection is that. Get yourself a headset. Start interacting, start finding and getting as much information as you can online in the online world, because you can actually progress, and you could actually build yourself a business sitting in the backyard of wherever you are, with whichever has an internet connection. So we've got to move in this direction of empowering ourselves to work with technology, because it opens up a brand new world for us. It opens up a world of real estate investment. It opens up a world of commerce, of business, of becoming an entrepreneur. The future of this world, with all these people that are losing their jobs, and is that they're going to have to go somewhere. They're going to have to, and they're going to become entrepreneurs. So I think we're sitting with this massive, massive opportunity. So, and the way we're at school right now, where we say, well, we're going to get school, we're going to sort of pass matric, and then we're going to get a degree, and then I'm going to get a high-paid job. Those days are gone. I mean, unless you want a job in the government, then that's probably where that you need to move sort of going forward. But I think as an entrepreneur, and you want to make some real money, is those are the things you've got to become tech savvy and really have an inquisitive mind. Find out what your passion is, and then work towards finding something, whether it's real estate investment. And there's just so much free stuff which is online, especially now. People are trying to find solutions. And, we've seen that the wave of the number of audiences that have grown online just as a result of lockdown in South Africa and the world has just skyrocketed. So interaction, the number of webinars and seminars and the stuff that is available has skyrocketed. And it's available to everybody. And that's why I say your starting point is to get a good internet connection, get yourself a laptop, and that's how you can equip yourself. That could be your business. And that could be the way that could take you into another world, another stratosphere.
100%. So I think thank you very much, Neale, for giving us a positive view of how to look at the future and staying positive and being proactive and not losing our cool in the midst of what's going on right now. And start panicking and obviously thinking about all the negative things that can happen. Yes, think about the worst case scenario and prepare for it. You know what I mean? Because I think I also realized that as soon as I have the worst case scenario dotted down and I know what it is and I can look at it and see exactly what it is, then I'm able to come up with a solution to say, okay, what can I do to